Alrighty, let's move on to this. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he sees the opportunity in Washington as, quote, the best situation he's ever been in. Okay, Ryan. Maybe a couple subtle digs, a little kind of, underlying jabs here to everybody else, because we know that this man has been basically to every single franchise in the NFL because he's kind of this career backup. So before we go into this article and see what Ryan Fitzpatrick is saying, let's just kind of look at Ryan Fitzpatrick's overall history on where he's been and what he's played for and what he's done, because he says this is kind of, the best team he's been with. What's the quote? The best situation he's been with. So let's kind of look at the seasons where he played like the majority of the games, like more than 12 or more, a full 16 game season. We're not going to take the years that he only played like 8 games or anything like that. But let's see the seasons that he played. Basically the entire season, was the main man out there, and let's see what the overall team was looking like, because calling the Washington the best fit, you just played with the Dolphins a couple, the last 2 seasons with a good defense, not the best offense. You played with the Bills, you played with the Jets, so let's see what these teams were looking like. So let's go back to 2008. He ended up playing 12 games. Went 4-7-1. Unfortunately, not the best record out there. But who was on this Bengals team? Anybody good offensively? We had Cedric Benson, running back, 747, never the greatest runner. Wide receivers, they had T.J. Houshmandzadeh, real solid, and then Chad Johnson, once again, real solid. But that was really it. Defensive-wise, what do they got? Jonathan Joseph, Leon Hall. That's really it. So, yeah, that Bengals team was really nothing great in 2008. Let's take the 2011 and 2012 Bills, folks. Both, he was the starter there for the 2 seasons, played 16 games, and wins 6-10 every year for that 2-year stretch. So, let's see what the Bills team was looking like in 2011. Their head coach was Chan Gailey. That's absolutely trash. That man can't coach, folks. He's not a good coach. He's not a good offense coordinator. I don't know why. He only does 6-10. He's 6-10 and 8-8. That's the man's legacy in the NFL. Nothing ever great. So the coach right off the rip was trash there. What do we have weapons-wise offensively? They had Fred Jackson. He rushed for 934 yards that year. C.J. Spiller as well, 561 yards. It's a pretty good, solid running back by committee. They had Steve Johnson, 1,000 yards, and that was really it. They only had really one good wide receiver. They had Donald Jones as their wide receiver 2, who only caught 200 yards. Defensive-wise, what do we got? Anything good? Terrence McGee. Jarius Byrd. That's really it. That was really it. So once again, not the greatest Bills team, leading them to 6-10. What about the next year? Did they kind of upgrade their team the following year? Chan Gailey was still the head coach. Surely unfortunate. 6-10 again. They have C.J. Spiller still. No Fred Jackson, but C.J. Spiller went for 1,200 yards. We had Steve Johnson, once again, for 1,000 yards. Once again, still no real great wide receiver 2 with Donald Jones only catching 443 yards. Tight ends, they had T.J. Graham and Scott Chandler. Scott Chandler caught it for 500 yards. Solid. Defensive-wise, now we're talking defense. We got Mario Williams, Marcel Darius, Kyle Williams. Very great defensive line. They had Aaron Williams, Stephon Gilmore finally. Jarius Byrd still. So, real solid defense and a little bit of a better offense, but unfortunately no upgrade in wins. Not the greatest. All right, what else do we get here? Then he plays a full 16-game season with the Jets in 2015. What was this Jets team looking like? They had Todd Bowles as their head coach. Was this Todd Bowles' first year with the Jets? Let's see. Yes, it was his first year with the Jets, first full year, and they go 10-6, solid record. Unfortunately, still missing the playoffs. Let's see what this offensive weapons was like. They had Chris Ivory as a running back, rushing for 1,000 yards. They had Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall as their wide receivers, real solid. Both caught for 1,000+ yards. Brandon Marshall with 1,500, absolutely great there. Tight end, we had Jeff Cumberland and Kellen Davis that were absolutely garbage. None even caught for 100 yards. Defensively, well, they had the defensive-minded head coach. Now, for their defense, they had Muhammad Wilkinson, Leonard Williams, Sheldon Richardson, Demario Davis, Kelvin Price, Antonio Cromartie, Daryl Revis, Kelvin Pryor. Oh, my God. That's an elite defense right there, folks. But once again, only, unfortunately, 10-6 season, man. So that was, honestly, that's the best team that we've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick have so far. 2015 Jets. That's a real solid team. A little underperforming at 10-6. Then the following year, with the Jets still playing 11 games, went 3-8 in that span. Not the greatest. And then the last kind of full reign season was 2019 with the Dolphins, and he went 5-8. So once again, nothing great. But let's see what this Dolphins roster was looking like. We had Brian Flores, he first-year head coach, so that's really great. He's a real solid one. All right, offensive pieces, we had Kellen Balaj, absolutely trash. That man can't play. Our wide receivers, Alan Hearns, not the greatest. Devontae Parker, he caught for 1,200 yards, real solid, but once again, not the most reliable. A lot of injuries. And then we had Preston Williams, and then our tight end, Durham Smith. So, once again, no real great weapons for Ryan Fitzpatrick to work with. Our defense was real solid. We had Davin Godshaw, Christian Wilkins, Xavier Howard, Jerome Baker, Nick Needham, Eric Rowe, and Bobby McCain. So real solid defense there, but no real weapons for Ryan Fitzpatrick to work with. So really, the bar is not that high for Ryan Fitzpatrick to say that Washington is the best situation that he's ever been in. The 2015 Jets, I would probably say, is the best overall team. And once again, he went 10-6. So what can we truly expect from this Washington team this season? Maybe maxing out at 10-6. But let's see what Ryan Fitzpatrick is saying in this article. Why does he say this is the best situation? Is it the pieces? Let's bring up this Washington depth chart really quickly, just so we have, once again, the all the pieces, right names, all of that. So he's working with Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick as their running backs, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries as their weapons, wide receiver-wise, and then Logan Thomas as their tight end. And then their defense, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Kendall Fuller, Landon Collins. We'll see if Kareem Curl and William Jackson are solid this year. So the defense, I don't know if this Washington defense was better than that Jets 2015 defense, folks. It's going to be tough, but let's see what Ryan Fitzpatrick is saying now here. Here we go. So, if you told the average NFL fan in the late 2000s that Ryan Fitzpatrick, the 250th overall pick of the 2005 draft, would still be in the NFL as a starting quarterback in 2021, you'd rightfully be treated with skepticism. Well, he's not the starting quarterback just quite yet. Let's relax. Taylor Heineke can potentially maybe win the starting job here in training camp. I don't think it's kind of fair to give Ryan Fitzpatrick the starting job just quite yet here in Washington. I do think it is leaning more towards Ryan Fitzpatrick. I would say it's probably 60-40, maybe even 65-35 that Ryan Fitzpatrick wins the starting job just kind of going into training camp, but I'm not ready to kind of, give him the starting role just quite yet. So NFL.com, slow your roll a little bit. Who wrote this article? Nick Shook. Slow your roll a little bit. This is an open quarterback competition. We know this. Those listening might have even run you out of the room, but fear not. Time traveling reader, Fitzpatrick is in fact in the NFL in 2021 as a starter. I don't think so. He hasn't been named the starter, folks. We keep track of every story every single day. He has not been named the starter, folks. Nick Shook, relax. If he's not the starter come week one, we're coming back to this article and calling out Nick Shook. I've got no problem doing that, folks. All right, so Fitzpatrick is in fact in the NFL in 2021 as a starter, and he believes his position with Washington might be his most promising in years. Quote, "This is the best situation I've ever been in, or the best situation that I've ever gone into as the guy." So is he? Why is everyone talking about like Ryan Fitzpatrick is already the automatic starting quarterback here? Has he been named? I haven't seen him be named. Ryan Fitzpatrick is even saying, "Hey, I'm the guy." Oh, are you? Who said that? Because if you were just listening to Nick Shook, that's not a reliable source. I talked to Ron Rivera. Let me take a quick Google here. Has there been an official announcement? June 3rd, Washington Post says Washington has a clear starting quarterback? Do they? So nobody's really come out and said this. There's no news. June 11th, Ron Rivera says Washington football team will have open quarterback competition for the starting job. Why is everyone talking like it's Ryan Fitzpatrick? Give Taylor Heineke some respect. Give this man a chance. He went toe-to-toe with Brady. Give this man a chance. He at least deserves a chance. Don't write this man off. Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe you're getting a little bit too big for your britches over there. We know that, a lot of the wide receivers for Washington were like, whoa, Ryan Fitzpatrick, yeah, we gotta like it. I get that. But until Ron Rivera says it, I'm not going to say it. So a lot of certainties being thrown around here in Washington. I'm not loving it. Dial it back, everybody. Dial it back. All right, but back to the quote here. Quote, I signed to be the starter in Houston. I signed to be the starter in Miami. So this is now the third team that I've signed to come in and be the starter for. Once again, slow your roll. Jeez, I just feel the way that I'm playing the last 4 years, kind of the progression of my career, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that 17 years in, physically, I feel great. Mentally, emotionally, I'm in the right spot. I just think I am set up for success this year and really looking forward to it. So you are set up for decent success here. You do have decent weapons all around you. You've got some fast, speedy weapons. You got the speed, you got the height, and different weapons around the field. So that's definitely going to help Ryan Fitzpatrick. But once again, him saying, the way that I've been playing the last 4 years, it's still nothing great by Ryan Fitzpatrick. He is a backup. He is a career kind of 500 backup. We know this. 4-3 last season, getting us out to a slow start, losing the first 2 games, and then the miraculous, Raiders win when you got the face mask and you just launched the bomb and it was a completion, so we'll give you credit. But once again, these kind of circumstances of how he's winning the game and how he's looking throughout the entire game, and a lot of interceptions, not the greatest completion percentage. I just can't buy Ryan Fitzpatrick as a whole. He is, if he has to come in and fill in for 1 or 2 games mid-season, I have a lot of faith in Ryan Fitzpatrick to go out and win those games. But if I have to rely on him to be the starter for 16 straight weeks, I don't buy into it. I don't think he's an overall winning quarterback in this league. He's not going to take you to the playoffs. On a solid team that has a solid defense, he gets you to 10-6, missing the playoffs. Unfortunate. That was his best year, folks. 2015. Solid weapons, real great defense, and a defensive-minded head coach, and you go 10-6 with 59% completion percentage, real trash, 3,900 yards, which is real solid, 31 touchdowns and 15 interceptions, which is once again just real solid. It's nothing great. It's not bad. It's solid work out there. But it leads to a 10-6 season, not making the playoffs. Not great. So Ryan Fitzpatrick saying, he's a starter. Nick Shook saying that he's a starter. Slow your roll. Taylor Heineke just kind of, small sample size, but real solid. Went toe-to-toe with Brady, 1 possession away from beating Tom Brady, and then we don't get Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl. We could have thanked Taylor Heineke for that, folks. How crazy would that have been? So I don't know, man. I don't buy Ryan Fitzpatrick. I just don't. I've seen him play. I don't like the way he plays. I think his kind of Fitz magic clouds everybody's judgment. Yes, those are great games to watch and look back on and, watch and just, have fun watching, Ryan Fitzpatrick come from behind and make miraculous throws. But when we're betting, when we're rooting, when we're just trying to see what is good in this league, Ryan Fitzpatrick is just not good in this league, folks. I'm sorry to break it to y'all, but he's just not. We see his record, his career record, trash, and I know he's a career backup, so he's never having that full training camp as a starter and all that. But even when he did that with the Bills, that's what we're saying. It was kind of still not the greatest with the Jets, not the greatest out there. His career record, folks, is 59, 86, and 1. He even tied a game. How do you do a tie? You're the backup. Go out and win it or lose it. Don't tie the game. What are we doing? Well, what else do we get here by Ryan Fitzpatrick? Here we go. A Ron Rivera-led club can tend to have such a positive impact on a player, especially one like Fitzpatrick, who is now on his 9th team and has seen more than his fair share of struggling franchises in his career. That is true. Ron Rivera is probably the best head coach that Ryan Fitzpatrick has played for. That is probably true. So once again, we could probably buy Ryan Fitzpatrick a little bit more than we initially do buy him, just because he does have Ron Rivera. If anything, those experiences have taught Fitzpatrick to embrace any chance he gets moving forward, both on and off the field. Quote, the other major point in my career when there was a transition was after my year in 2016 with the Jets, which was miserable, and the first time in my life I hated football and just didn't want to play anymore. Leave it to the Jets, folks. The second year was Todd Bowles too. Jeez, unfortunate. Since then, it's almost like I've been playing on borrowed time. The last 4 I've really been able to enjoy. Hopefully everybody has been able to see that for me on the field. For some of the goofy stuff in the interviews, my personality has really come out in the last 4. But the play is still not the greatest. Not what we want for a starting quarterback. Backup quarterback, like we said, backup quarterback, that's fine. Not a starting quarterback. Just take a look at his emergency insertions down the stretch of Miami's 2020 season. As Fitzpatrick will point out with his brand of humor, he wasn't on ice. He was just recharged. Quote here by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Quote, it was rested. It wasn't cold. It was fresh. I played in the Denver game. Then I played in the Vegas game. All the while knowing that I felt good. The arm was rested. It was ready to go in both games, but especially in that Vegas game, I proved to myself that I could come out of the stands in 5 years and come and play in the NFL and be successful. So that was a win for me last year. So yeah, the arm was fresh. We know Ryan Fitzpatrick is 38. We know Big Ben is 39, having a little bit of arm issues. So that's another thing that, Washington has to be careful of. If we start Ryan Fitzpatrick week 1, how is the arm going to be looking week 16? He's 38. What if we have a real chance to, make a deep playoff run, but we can't with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then we have to go to Taylor Heineke, who hasn't played this entire year, and rely on him? How is that going to fare? So there is just kind of a standpoint where they just use Ryan Fitzpatrick as a pure backup this season, just to kind of preserve that arm if they do need it. Taylor Heineke just not getting it done. They kind of, remove him from the starting lineup week 8. Now you have Ryan Fitzpatrick take out those last 8 games, and then if they do get into the playoffs, the arm is still a little fresh for Ryan Fitzpatrick to carry out a potential magic playoff run that we've seen Nick Foles do. So I don't give Ryan Fitzpatrick the starting job, folks. I don't. Nick Shook is. He's not the head coach. So we'll see what Ron Rivera decides, but can't get behind Ryan Fitzpatrick being the starting guy. I just don't. Now back to the original question. Is this the best situation that he's ever been in? With the overall coach and the overall weapon and just the culture there in Washington, I would say, yeah, this is probably his best fit. The 2015 Jets was probably best fit number 2. 2019 Dolphins, maybe best fit number 3. The 2012 Bills? 2015? 2011, 2012 Bills, maybe 4th best fit, just because he had Chan Gailey. So we'll see what Ryan Fitzpatrick does. Obviously, I'll root for the man. I'm not actively going against the man. It's just I know what I need to see for a winning team, and I don't know if Ryan Fitzpatrick is the guy. A lot of turnovers.